In today's rapidly evolving political landscape, a development in Canada has emerged that may have far-reaching implications for President Trump and his international strategy. The political stage in Canada has been dramatically reset with the appointment of a new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, representing the Liberal Party. This appointment marks a decisive break from a lengthy tenure by former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, a leader whose popularity had noticeably waned after 10 years in power. What began as a promising opportunity for Canada's Conservative Party soon took an unexpected turn, as Trump's aggressive trade policies upended the anticipated political trajectory. The shift in voter sentiment in Canada was unmistakable. Prior to the imposition of tariffs and the ensuing trade war, the Conservatives had enjoyed a commanding 20-point lead in the polls, a margin that seemingly ensured an overwhelming victory over the Liberal incumbents. However, President Trump's decision to impose harsh tariffs and provoke a trade dispute with Canada altered this political calculus. In a move that many analysts describe as both economically and politically reckless, Trump's policies catalyzed a significant realignment among Canadian voters. The Conservatives, long seen as the natural allies of Trump's nationalist rhetoric, saw their once formidable advantage evaporate as Canadians gravitated toward a Liberal Party that was perceived as more resolute in distancing itself from the U.S. president's interference. Mark Carney, the newly anointed Prime Minister, has wasted no time in asserting his vision for Canada's future. In a forceful public address, Carney condemned President Trump's trade actions as unjustified and warned that they threatened the very foundations of Canadian sovereignty. He stressed that the nation was facing what he described as the most significant crisis of our lifetimes, a crisis precipitated by policies that not only endangered the economy but also undermined the autonomy of Canada as a nation. Carney's rhetoric was unambiguous. The primary adversary was none other than President Trump, whose actions had now placed Canada in a precarious position. In this climate of heightened tension, the announcement of a snap election for April emerged as a strategic move by the Liberal Party. This decision is interpreted as an expression of confidence, a belief that anti-Trump sentiment among Canadians can be harnessed to secure an electoral victory, even in a political environment that might have otherwise favored conservative candidates. Trump's responses to these developments have been equally perplexing. Despite evidence suggesting that his trade war has directly contributed to economic instability, a fact marked by surging costs and a plunging stock market, Trump has persisted in a campaign of diversion. His strategy appears to focus on stoking nationalist fervor and presenting himself as a stalwart defender of American patriotism. He has invoked familiar themes of the 51st state, suggesting that even if Canada were to align more closely with the United States, it would inevitably become a very, very blue state. Such statements, laden with hyperbole and seemingly crafted to distract from the immediate economic fallout, reveal a pattern of short-term tactical maneuvers rather than a coherent long-term strategy. This approach, critics argue, is less about genuine policy innovation and more about engineering a rally-around-the-flag effect during a period of domestic and international turmoil. Adding another layer to this unfolding drama is an excerpt attributed to Pierre Poilievre, which surfaced in a prominent publication. In his remarks, Poilievre delved into a series of culturally charged topics, ranging from the defunding of Canada's national broadcaster and the contentious debate over gender identities to an ambitious vision of transforming Canada into the world's cryptocurrency capital. These comments echo the controversial rhetoric often associated with Trump, a similarity that has not gone unnoticed by political observers. Poilievre's statements, intended to position him within the cultural wars that are increasingly shaping public discourse, have only served to underscore the dissonance between his ideological stance and the prevailing anti-Trump sentiment in Canada. His attempt to mirror Trump's style, even as public opinion turns against the U.S. president, highlights the broader challenge facing any political figure who dares to emulate his contentious methods. At its core, the current crisis is a study in the dangers of short-term distraction. While President Trump's trade policies may have initially been designed to consolidate support through a hardline stance, the unintended consequences have become painfully clear. The trade war he instigated has not only disrupted economic stability but has also spurred a political backlash that has resonated far beyond the United States. Trump's tactics, aimed at diverting attention from domestic economic issues, have, in effect, isolated him on the international stage. Countries such as Canada, Greenland, and Panama have increasingly rejected his overtures. For instance, in a further display of his strategy to manufacture controversy, Trump recently extended his criticism beyond Canada by targeting Greenland and Panama. His comments about Greenland, in particular, suggested that a segment of its population might be amenable to joining the United States. However, this notion was promptly dismissed by local voices, who have made it clear that they value their sovereignty and have no interest in such an arrangement. The international reaction to these remarks has been swift and unequivocal. Greenland, like Canada, has rejected the implication that it would welcome American annexation. Similarly, Panama has expressed its disinterest in any such rapprochement. These responses reflect a broader consensus among nations that Trump's aggressive posturing is not only unwarranted but also counterproductive to the ideals of national self-determination and democratic governance. In this context, it is striking to observe how Trump's actions have inadvertently provided political ammunition to Canada's Liberal Party. By positioning himself as an external threat to Canadian sovereignty, Trump has contributed to an electoral environment in which liberal anti-Trump sentiment now appears to be a decisive factor. As the narrative continues to unfold, the consequences for President Trump are becoming increasingly evident. His initial approval ratings have suffered considerably, and his strategies, once aimed at solidifying support through confrontation, now seem to be accelerating his political isolation. In a political climate that has grown ever more critical of his actions, the international community has joined together in a united front of disapproval. The clear majority of global opinion now regards Trump's policies as detrimental, if not outright dangerous, to the principles of economic stability and national sovereignty. In conclusion, the political upheaval in Canada serves as a stark reminder of the interconnected nature of international policy and the profound consequences that can arise from unilateral actions. The appointment of Mark Carney as Prime Minister, the subsequent snap election call, and the robust rejection of Trump's trade war all signal a turning point in Canadian politics, one that is emblematic of a broader international repudiation of divisive nationalist tactics. The story unfolding in Canada is not merely a regional issue, it is a reflection of a global movement away from policies that seek to undermine the sovereignty of nations for short-term political gain. As citizens around the world become increasingly aware of the pitfalls of such approaches, the demand for measured, long-term strategic thinking grows ever more urgent. In these challenging times, the role of independent media and direct channels of communication has never been more critical. While platforms may exercise control over the dissemination of information, it is the responsibility of dedicated journalists and informed citizens to ensure that the truth is not obscured by the noise of sensationalist rhetoric. The commitment to investigative reporting and factual accuracy remains a cornerstone of a healthy democracy. As we move forward, the ability to critically evaluate the actions of leaders, whether in Canada, the United States, or elsewhere, will be essential in safeguarding the values of transparency, accountability, and self-determination. The current political moment, fraught with tensions and challenges, calls for a renewed focus on genuine dialogue and informed debate. While President Trump's actions may have temporarily dominated the headlines, the long-term trajectory of democratic governance will be determined by the resilience and resolve of nations like Canada. With a new Prime Minister at the helm and a clear mandate to reject policies that threaten their sovereignty, Canadians are poised to chart a course that prioritizes stability, economic security, and the fundamental principles of self-governance. In this decisive hour, it is evident that the future will be shaped not by short-lived distractions, but by a steadfast commitment to democratic ideals and the pursuit of a more secure and prosperous society. As this investigative report concludes, it is important to recognize that the challenges we face extend far beyond the rhetoric of any one individual. The dynamics of international politics are complex and ever-changing, and it is incumbent upon all of us to remain vigilant, informed, and engaged. Independent media, free from the pressures of corporate and political interests, plays a vital role in holding power to account. In a time when information can be suppressed or manipulated, supporting credible, independent journalism is essential. For those who value transparency and truth, subscribing to reliable sources and engaging in open discourse are not merely acts of consumption, but contributions to the ongoing defense of democratic values. This report stands as a testament to the transformative power of informed debate, a reminder that, even in an era of rapid political change and pervasive media manipulation, The enduring principles of truth and accountability remain our most valuable assets.